Hey, everybody. I am Misty Book, president of Mystic, which is a digital marketing agency. And we are here for another Marketing Monday. I'm super excited. I can't believe it, but we're coming up on 2 years of this show. So I just realized that as I was saying these words, I was like, wait a minute. I think we've been doing this about 2 years. And I think we started about the end of August 2020. So anyhow, I don't know what the official anniversary date is, but I'm super excited to be here today and to welcome my guest today. We're going to dive into marketing, social media marketing, digital marketing with an amazing guest that I have here today. You might have seen her here before. She was here on a show. She was involved in the planning of TEDx Miami, very involved in that. So she was here on that show. But today she's going to talk about what it is that she does and share some tips with you guys. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. So with that, I'm going to welcome Ariane Trevor. So we also call her Ari, right?
Yes.
You prefer that?
Yeah.
So go ahead and introduce yourself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Always so fun. She said I call myself a unicorn because I'm so involved in so many different projects in so many different facets. But what I'm most passionate about is really helping personal brands who are here to make a difference in the world. So a lot of wellness entrepreneurs, like in the health field, mental health and wellness, all the things, yoga, and really make a name for themselves and help in that process, right? Like I really feel it's like my duty, my dharma to make the world feel better, look better. And I can't possibly do that. I was in the yoga industry for 20 years and there's only so much you can do. But if I help others, we create that ripple effect.
I love that so much because, as you know, a lot of people are really good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And that oftentimes doesn't include the marketing piece of it.
But
they get so frustrated because they're like, I know I need to be doing this.
Right.
And I know I need to get my name out there, but I don't really want to be on video. I don't really understand what I'm supposed to post on social media.
Right.
And it changes so fast, right? I mean, there's so much that goes beyond it. So I love that you're taking this approach and this ownership over, actually, let me help more people by teaching health and wellness individuals and others to get more visibility out of their brand.
Yep. Basically,
in the right ways.
Correcto. Yeah. And it's all about being like authentic and aligned.
Yes.
And to, right now, for example, like the big thing is reels. Everybody's like, oh, reels. I need to do reels. I need to dance and point at things. And it's like, yes. And how about we like focus on your strengths? So this is why I love coaching so much and consulting, because it's like, if I can teach you the A through E method, right? I don't need to go all the way to Z. That gets complicated, but just the first pieces and create a plan that is like, do you even like to be on video? Can we create a social media or visibility strategy that like is more blog how are you showing up in your business is really important, especially for personal brands. Right? Like if you don't want to, especially for, I like to say women over 40, like dancing on a TikTok might not be as like fun as maybe sharing your knowledge, sharing like the wisdom and just talking, but doing it in a way that also doesn't bore people. And tune out, because we have the attention span of like, I don't know, a gnat. So there's strategy and technique to things.
Because it took me like 2 days to do a 90-second video last week. And because I just wanted to share one tip, just one. But to make that tip fit into 90 seconds and make it make sense within that 90 seconds was a challenge. It really was a challenge. So it took me
2 days.
It took me 2 days because the first day I think I did it like 5 times, and I finally was like, I'm putting this until tomorrow because like something's not aligning. And then the next day, I think I took a few more takes and I finally got it done. But
that's hilarious. And that still happens to me. And now I can probably bust out reels and like, I've got my system.
Yeah, you're really good
down.
at that.
Yeah, you've seen.
You're really good at that. No, you really are. You really are. And I like how you do a really nice job of mixing like health and wellness tips and balance with also sharing about marketing and branding and all that along the way and telling people about that. So like one of the things you talk about so often is lead generation. So I know we were talking a little bit off air and we assume people understand what lead generation is at this point, but in today's day, in 2022, in August of 2022, because things change so fast.
Yes, it's true.
How would you describe lead gen? So if somebody out there is, let's say they're a yoga instructor or they're a coach or whatever it is that they're doing, and they want to really understand what lead gen is, how would you explain what that is today?
So to me, a lead is a prospect, somebody that can become a customer, right? It's not a viewer. To me, like somebody that's like a follower of mine on Instagram isn't necessarily a prospect or a lead. The minute that they intake, like, I'm going to say like important or vital pieces of information and I get their email,
right?
That's when I consider them a lead.
Okay.
So it's switching a viewer into a potential customer. And it's that process that I love to guide people in, because you could have 9,000 followers on Instagram. That does not mean you have 9,000 leads.
Quality over quantity.
Right?
Too, right? Yes, but that does not equate to leads. Correct.
So that's why I love, especially in the digital business aspect, it's like, how are we creating people that are, downloading something? They're showing up to a masterclass. Like I have a webinar, 2 webinars this week, and then I have a 5-day challenge coming up in a couple of weeks. Like that's where I can nurture a relationship,
right?
To then invite people to take the next step, which is then like to hire me or to buy one of my online programs or something like this, right? A lead is a potential customer, not a viewer. And the more that we understand that, it really helps us to dial in on like, what are we promoting and selling this week?
Right.
Like, how are we going to do it? What's the link that people have to click into? What do I then have to do on the back end?
Right.
How am I building a community? Because like I have a client, she's a coach, a happiness coach. And the other day she's like, Ari, I really love your program because like you actually told me what I needed. I needed people. She's like, I've bought other programs before that say, start your online business by creating a course.
Right.
But they didn't tell you that you needed people.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a lot easier to create the product,
or
the course or the class or whatever it might be. And it's very much no longer build it and they will come.
No.
It doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't, unfortunately.
Right?
Yeah. It's really about like, even the old paradigm of like, people need to see something 7 to 10 times. People need to see something like 30 times and hear about it and see it like here, like in my inbox, in my social media, on my TikTok, like while I'm pooping, like literally.
Right. Right. And I would say, I don't know, maybe don't see if you agree on this. I would say they need to hear it in different ways.
Yeah.
Because I swear the amount of times that people will all of a sudden see something, a piece of content that I put out. Oh, I didn't realize that you did that. And I'm like, where have you been? So it's funny to me and I bring that up because again, I don't know if this happens to you, but where you work with people and they're like, oh, but I've already said that. No, you need to say it again. And say it in a different
It happens
way.
to me too. Absolutely. Like it happens to me. Sometimes I also like assume things. Oh, people like I assume that people know this, or I assume that they saw it before. And then that way I don't repeat it or I don't reiterate it. And that's a disservice to me because first of all, if let's just talk about like organic.
Okay.
Right. And let me preface, organic is you're not spending a dime on advertising. It's just you are working with the algorithm. You're putting your reel, you're putting your post and letting the social media take it from the social media gods, take it from there. So organic, for example, I test this all the time on my personal Facebook. I'll do a post and I'll put a picture of my daughter. 100 comments, literally. That's it. Right? My flower girl, 100 comments. Hey guys, I'm so excited to like share my masterclass that I have next week.
Right.
Here's the link.
0.
Okay. Or whatever. 1. And I have a fairly like decent social media, tribe.
Right.
Same thing with Instagram. Picture of my daughter. She always wins. That's why I use her. Oh my God, she's so cute. All the comments, all the engagement.
Right.
Picture of like a graphic sharing some marketing and mindset tips, for like new entrepreneurs. 5 people. And I have 9,800 followers on Instagram. So if we're going to do just an organic approach, you have to understand that is not enough. So just doing a post is not going to like get you like throngs of people to your webinar
Right.
or to your challenge. You have to do the post, you have to do the reel, you have to send the email, you have to post it on your Facebook, you have to like hire a homing pigeon to like drop it off at people's homes.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of ads to just like support, push it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think, oh, like I just have to have organic. You can, and it's going to take longer. And you're going to have to DM more people and like start conversations. And that's not something that we were ever taught, not even in marketing. Like when I went to, school, there was
social media was not a thing when I was in school.
Me neither. Year 2000. But it wasn't a thing. And there wasn't like that much personal outreach for marketing before.
Right.
It was like, oh, here, let me do an ad, or like, let me do radio, or, maybe go to a networking event and speak. And that was like
very much, I always say it was very much advertisers speaking at you, which is now it's, you need to speak with people. With conversation.
Yeah. So this is why like it's a lot of people come and they're like, I'm so confused. I'm like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah. I'm confused. I do this every day and I still get confused because it changes
every week.
It changes.
Like Instagram, like 3 weeks ago, we're like, oh, we're going to be like TikTok now. And then they were like, oh, just kidding. We're going to go back to
that made me crazy. But they're still changing things. They're
always.
Still there. I don't know. They're always changing things.
Yeah. So I like what you said, like that visibility needs to be approached in different ways.
Yeah.
And different, like one video can say one thing and the other, the post can say the same thing, but a little different. So it lands differently.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also part of it is so much just psychology, like where somebody is in the moment that they are consuming your message. So if they had just thought, oh, I have an interest in that, or they heard somebody say, oh, I really need to do X. Now it's fresh. So now they're going to maybe pay a little bit closer of attention to what you're saying versus when they don't have a need. So I think to your point, that consistency is so crucial because you cannot, despite the algorithms and the ads and our best efforts, you can't predict when somebody's going to have a need for a service or a product.
I agree. And to that point, it's also like learning your customers,
right?
And like seeing their behaviors. Like, I don't know how about you guys, but like I'm a midnight buyer. If I'm like awake and I get emails, like I have these, my mentors, like marketing mentors, like Frank Kearns or whatever. And I get their emails at like 11:59 and they're like, last chance to buy my thing
left out?
I buy them. I'm a midnight buyer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no wonder the home like shopping network, remember, like it would turn off.
Yeah, it does. So
midnight buyers.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
It's funny, but like understanding the insights of your social media, like talking to your customers. Like I always have my students like ask your people at what time they want to see you live.
Right.
Ask them what they're stuck with. Like maybe you're doing all this stuff about like weight loss and exercise, and really they are looking more for accountability on their relationships.
Right.
So how do you support them where they're at?
Right.
It's a beautiful conversation I feel like people can have with their customers nowadays.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. On that. So speaking of that, you mentioned a little bit earlier you have a webinar and a new, I think you said, course coming up. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what those entail?
So the webinar, I have a couple this week, and it's basically like your magnetic messaging and how you market yourself. And
it's a good title. I like it.
Thank you. It's client attraction, right? How do we attract the clients that we really want in our business? Like the exact types of clients, like your number 10, like I'd work with these people all day long and I'd come home happy.
Right.
And they're going to go home happy as well. So that masterclass really covers like the 4 key things. I use my marketing flow strategy. So we're going to go over what that is, which is basically like visibility, like what are you selling and how are you selling it?
Right. So
what is that?
A good fit for that webinar?
All my like wellness professionals. I work with therapists a lot. I work with, like I said, like alternative health doctors, like Eastern acupuncturists, Ayurveda doctors,
Right.
yoga teachers, Pilates. So anybody who wants to make people feel good, look good, and be good. That's
Right.
coaches, a lot
Right.
of coaches.
And they're looking to build their brand.
Yeah.
Or define their brand.
Define their brand, exactly. Because what I like to do is go from idea to done. So it goes not just.
Ooh, that's hard.
It is.
It's a lot easier to come up with ideas and get super excited. And then a friend that talks about the third day concept, it's like, yeah, I'm excited. But J3, you're like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. I'm not motivated anymore. This is hard.
Yeah. Well, something I like to do is with all my clients, unless they hire me for the done for you piece, like, here,
Right.
all right, can you just build this for me?
Mhm.
I'd like to empower people. So I'm like, here's your business in a box. Here's all the templates you're going to need for like your funnel. Here's your like lead gen, to download, emails. Here's your automations. Like, here's everything that you need. So it's called Business Freedom Academy. Like, I really want you to feel free while operating your business. So you can, what you said, like, I like to do what I love.
Right.
I don't like to market, or do I know how to market?
Right.
So if I give you everything A to Z in theory, pretty much done, you just have to update templates. You don't have to learn how to market.
Right.
You just have to then like do the exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my like signature program. And I think nowadays more and more, even people who have jobs like have this like passion to do the next thing or the other thing. So this makes it so much easier.
You know what's really interesting that you said that is because, and I'd love your take on this, I've been reading a lot more about this concept of building your brand as an employee.
Yeah.
So, it's not just about if you're in business for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I've been saying this for years, but I think every single person is a brand. Sorry, like everything is so public these days. It doesn't matter. If someone takes a picture of you and posts it, you're a brand, right? So, so in talking about that, because you mentioned people that are working full time, but maybe trying to do something else. So like, how do they strike that balance in your program?
So funny enough, let me just piggyback on what you just said. So I'm a contributor for an organization called the Daily Drip, and it's for women in business. Mm-hmm. So I write articles, like do lectures, all these things. And that's what we were talking about the other day was like, it's so hard sometimes to find people who are in a corporate environment who also want to like be a leader and like write articles for people and how that's actually something that people are looking for.
Right.
So I think there has to be a balance. Like, first of all, check with your employer, like make sure that you standing out isn't a conflict of interest, like always and forever. But if you do want to like highlight yourself within the company, like you could do leadership stuff in a company. You could also consult or like lead a workshop. I remember my husband, he was working for a big solar power company, and employees would lead like mini workshops for their teams on topics that they were even passionate about, like, how to like be a like working mom or how to be more sustainable.
Interesting.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. And the next step is like, let's say you are in HR and you're like, you've been working in HR for 20 years and you still want to work in your company. You have all the great benefits, all the great things. But you're like, how else can I contribute as an HR? I mean, you could literally like find organizations to be a leader for, speaker, mentor. I think there's so many different ways that you could use that knowledge. That's kind of what I like to do. It's like, you're an expert, you're an authority in your industry. How are you going to maximize that knowledge? I mean, and you can teach other people to be, rock stars in HR and create a little online course, but then you need the community, you need the people. It starts that cycle all over again. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the good news is that there's lots of ways to build a community and be creative and authentic at the same time. Because when you use the phrase magnetic marketing, to me, I'm thinking energy. I'm thinking, what
emotion,
what you're putting out there is how you're attracting people. We talk like every week on the show about people do business with people that they like, that they feel comfortable with, or somehow relate to. So I think that's such a huge part of it. And it sounds so simple, But when you ask somebody, like, what are the things that make you you? What can they get from you they can't get from anybody else?
Yeah, the
It's
uniqueness.
like how do you answer that
Yeah.
about yourself, right? So like, how do you help people through those challenges? Or maybe somebody out there is watching this today. Maybe you can't, I know you can't give away all the gravy, but maybe just like a quick tip on how they could start that process.
So first of all, like a differentiating factor is automatically is like, have you created something or are you passionate about creating something? Because that means that you're literally the only one in the world who has that thing. Like I wrote a book called The Abundant Yogi, and I'm the only author of that.
Right.
I'm not saying go write a book, but like what can make you stand out? And so your brand immediately, like the minute you own your brand, like a URL, your hashtag, not your hashtag, your handle on social media, on Instagram, like the minute you own that and you create a concept around your brand,
right,
like what it is that your brand stands for. So I would do the idea of the brand if you don't have it like actually done, like go get your name, your like domain, like go get something like that. But also, what are the core values of your brand?
I was gonna say that. I always ask people that question.
Yeah.
What are your values as a person?
As a person.
And what are your values as a brand?
Yep. Because if we look at, so I use this like core business wheel when we're building businesses, and inside it's going to be your product and service. Then it's going to be your core values. Then it's going to be the way that you work inside your business. And then we're going to start focusing on like marketing, sales, HR, finance, right? Like those other things and to build your business. But really it is like, what are the pillars that you want to build this business upon? Because it was something that you said that was like spot on. You know, people do business with people they like, and you want to know that, you want to like draw that line in the sand, like this is what I stand for, and I'm going to be like really strong about that and almost be polarizing, so that I don't get clients that are not in alignment with me.
Right.
And you know, we can use, for example, your views on, I don't know, maybe it's like you're religious, or maybe you're anything that can say like, I want these people. These people are going to like, we're going to jive so well, and conversations are going to be easy. I don't need to like watch what I say.
Right. And I like that too, because people think, oh, I have to draw a line in the sand. So they automatically think religion. They automatically think politics, but maybe they're not comfortable. And you don't have to. I think you can talk about things like, let's say a core value, for example, is family.
Family, I was going to say.
Then... Of course you are. So then, you know, then talk about the value of family and what that means to you, and attract people who have that same value and those same beliefs, right? You don't necessarily have to get into topics that are going to create discomfort for you. Fights or discomfort for you either, right? I know a lot of people, they want to kind of like stay away from that. And I think that's cool. But what else can we talk about that is still unique to you, that you're passionate about, that when you talk about it, you know, like if somebody's not into numbers and they're like going, no, and then somebody finally asks them, tell me about something that's really interesting to you, right? And you start talking about something you're passionate about, the way that person talks, the way they hold themselves, all of that becomes much different, doesn't it?
It does. Absolutely.
So people can read that.
And that's why like, it's like that emotion piece.
Yeah.
When you're talking about visibility, it's like, and let's say you're doing video or even writing, how are you transmitting emotion? How are you transmitting like the way you relate to things? Because just even think of the concept of, if you have 10 people in a room and you ask everybody to say the word no,
right?
Like what is that energy? It's gonna be like no. But if you ask people to say yes, it's gonna be like yes. So how are you showing up with like that energy inside of yourself? And something a friend of mine told me once that was so powerful. He's like, the energy that you start anything with is going to be transmitted, whether it's a Facebook ad, whether it's going to be an Instagram
100%.
live, or it's going to be your post. And
100%.
if you're like posting something and you're like, God, I hate doing this, do you think you're going to get any clients?
Yeah, no, that's going to come out in that energy, right? But if you're doing something that matters to you, and you're doing something like you've been talking about this whole show, that authenticity, I think that helps. right? And I think it's, I know we only have like a few minutes, but I think also it's working through a fear. So maybe it's not that you don't believe in what you're going to talk about, but maybe you have a fear about what you're going to put
judgment,
out there. So
imposter.
Exactly. So like working through those things too. And I think when you get to know yourself, then everything on the outside, including your brand, will be that much stronger, right? So when you don't have that inner clarity, it's like, how can anything else be clear? So, and then you can't expect others to understand that either when you're not clear. So anyways, so there's so much that we could dive into. We only have a few minutes left of the show. It's flying by. So how can people sign up for one of these webinars or courses that you're doing? Tell us how they can reach you.
So the best is my Instagram. So it's ari.bizcoach. ari.biz.coach. Thank you. And also, do we have some comments?
We do have a question.
George,
Sorry,
George.
We're just now seeing that it wasn't available.
Work at different generations. Yeah, absolutely. I think that can we talk about that for a second?
Go ahead. We have a minute.
So think like, our millennials and Gen whatever is under that.
Yeah.
It's the worst. And they actually consume information very differently than like our 50 plus community. Not that 50 plus community is not on Instagram. They're not on TikTok. Absolutely they are. But millennials and the younger like Gen Z, Gen X, I don't know who they are. I think I'm Gen X. I always forget. And they actually consume a lot of information on ads. Like I was just reading a report, like they actually ads that are like very organic, very authentic, like they end up buying more of those things.
I didn't see that. I did see that they're more on YouTube than anywhere, even above TikTok. I did read that.
Well, I mean, YouTube is
so
number one place.
And then of course, and then like 50 plus, maybe you're going to hit them on
more Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, and then depending on even who are the offer that you're doing within that group. Maybe LinkedIn is the better place for you. If you're more of a professional, it just depends. There's so many. George, it's kind of hard to answer that question. But I'm sure if you connect with Ari, she would.
So go to my Instagram. I also have a Facebook group called the Aligned and Abundant Entrepreneur Movement, because really I do feel like this is a movement that we are leading as, authentic, like I love to be in business and let's rock it type attitude. And in my Instagram, the link to my webinar is this week. But also if you just want to connect with me and send me a message, honestly, like I love talking to people. So I'm not going to wait till you go to my thing and sign up for my webinar. Just like follow me on Instagram and I'll send you a message and we can actually talk.
Yeah. So, and you can find your Instagram is
ari.biz.coach.
Oh, that's your Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if we can get that up real
Give me 1 second.
Yeah. We're going to try and get that up on the screen for you guys so that you can follow her if you want. All right. So with the last like minute or two that we have here, what is some like 1 or 2 top tips that you would give to somebody who knows they need to maybe work on their brand, but if sort of for whatever reason hasn't quite taken that step yet? What would you say to them?
Understand your audience, like the who, like who is your like ideal person? What are their problems and how can you solve them? That's literally it. And if we can build a whole marketing platform, like based on how we're solving your problems, and then we can sell a product or an offer that just like makes sense. It's like a home run offer. Those are the 3 core pieces to me. Like understand the problem. How can you be the solution, and make sure that the thing you're selling like actually delivers that. And it's a no-brainer.
Right. And that might be overwhelming to people, but it's possible because I mean, even as you've spoken about, you've worked with so many people who have found that I think a good word is probably relief in working with you, because it makes it less complicated for them. And they realize, oh, wait, this is something I actually can do. And that's pretty empowering.
And that's the crazy thing. It's like even I get people who are like tech, like nothing. Like they're like, I don't even know how to post. And I've taken them from like not having any sort of presence. And now like my client, she's a therapist, and she's like, I have fun with my Instagram. And to me, that's like, yay, Erica, I'm so happy to hear that. And she's like, and I love writing my newsletters. And like, that's what it should be. Marketing should be fun for you. And if it's not fun, hire a marketing agency that like you resonate with. Like, you do marketing agency, I have a marketing agency.
Yeah.
Like it really is about like finding the right person
Right.
that knows who you are
Right.
and understands your business.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you don't not want to market.
I agree. I definitely agree on that. So anyhow, all right. So we are just at the top or the end of the show here. And I want to thank you guys for being here. We're going to have another amazing guest next week on Marketing Monday. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'm super excited that you were able to come today. Hopefully you can come back soon.
Yeah.
Again, things change. So
yes. And I'm starting a podcast, so you'll be coming on my podcast.
There you go. In case you want to hear more of us, we're going to be coming to you soon. So anyhow, we'll see you guys next week. Make it an awesome week. I know school starts on Wednesday. So for all you parents out there, just take deep breaths. Kids, take deep breaths.
I'm so excited that school starts.
And for the rest of us that are and for the rest of us that are driving around, take deep breaths. Right? This affects all of us. It takes a village. So yay, mom is so happy. She actually thought it started today, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me that? That was super funny. So anyways, just we're so close. So close. Just one more day. Anyways, all right. I hope you guys have a good week. We will see you next time. As always, if you have any questions, comments, want to come on the show, or if there's a topic that we can address for you, just let me know, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here again. Make it a good one. Bye.